Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Act Black Box podcast. We have missed the heck out of you guys. It's been a long 3 weeks at Authentic Community Theater. We're so happy to be back. I'm your host, as always, Robbie Soto, along with my co-host to my left, Tim Vincent. What's going on, Tim?
Hello.
It's good to see you, buddy. And then to my right, I have the incomparable John Hall. John, how's it going?
Doing all right. How about you?
Oh, you know, it's been a busy few weeks, hasn't it? Oh, my goodness.
Right.
But all is good, and we are here. We are sorry we couldn't be here the past few weeks to hang out with you guys, but we are back. We have so many updates. We have a couple good conversations we're going to have here today, and we're going to jump right into our discussion today. First of all, we're going to talk about the last 3 things that we've done and why we weren't here. So first of all, we had Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street, live at the Maryland Theater. And then we had our very first haunted house at the Act Black Box Studio, which was incredibly successful, even though some people didn't want it to be. And we'll get to that here in a little bit. And then, of course, we had Rent one night only, 700 people on a Tuesday night at the Maryland Theater. What an incredible turnout, an incredible response to that show. We're going to get to all that here. But first, we're going to talk about Sweeney Todd. Tim, you were in Sweeney Todd, and I refuse to do Sweeney Todd because I hate Sondheim. He's a genius, but I do not want to sing his music. It's extremely challenging. Mm-hmm. So, Tim, give us a little bit. What was it like doing a Sondheim show as big as Sweeney Todd?
It was definitely a challenge. The music is incredibly hard, and it's a style of music where I think you have to be trained to sing that style of music to really excel at it. Like Beth Malone is a performer who is trained to sing that kind of music, so she breezed right through it. But then, we had people like myself who are less advanced vocalists, where a lot of it I was like, oh, this is really challenging. I think I said a few weeks ago on the podcast, there's a song called God That's Good, where the line is literally, God, that's good, that is D, have you licious ever tasted, smelled such, oh my God, what perfect flavor, more that pie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the line, verbatim. And you have to sing that and follow the notes. So it was really challenging, but I think that the concept that the director, Scott Rubel, went with was really cool, and I think it really challenged us. And I think it was a different kind of show for us at ACT, and I think that it was very successful.
Yeah, I definitely agree that it was a successful show. People really enjoyed it. But Sweeney Todd's also that show that you really have to like it.
Yeah,
it's not one that really pops out at you because it is a opera style show, and for a lot of people who don't really understand or know it, a lot of times they have trouble following Sweeney Todd. There's a couple complaints that we have from folks who just came out to kind of see it. They knew somebody was in the cast. They were like, I really didn't know what was going on. I couldn't follow it, which is fairly normal for an operatic style show. John, have you done any Sondheim in your career?
I haven't done Sondheim. I've seen a lot of Sondheim. And Sweeney was one that I'm familiar with. I've seen it a couple of times, different places. And, after the show, we'd taken Gideon, my son, to see it. He's 14. And afterwards, I had to go and explain a couple of things that happened because he didn't get the whole what happened to Sweeney's wife years before and why he was so angry and what drove him nuts in the end.
And a lot of it goes really fast, too. So if you do miss something, like in the beginning, where he finds out what happened to his wife and his child right at the beginning of the show. And then that's really it. It's not really brought up again. It's what's driving Sweeney Todd to start slitting people's throats. But they don't really bring it up again. They don't discuss it. It's just, if you missed it, you're like, wait, why is this guy so mad? What happened?
Right. So. And on the flip side, my brother actually came to see the show, and he said that his favorite part was Lindsay Sullivan as the beggar woman, because he said that he actually that was the main plot line that he was following the entire show. Right. Like, of everything that was happening, he was focusing all of his attention on trying to figure out who she was, and why is she in? He said to me, he was like, I didn't understand why she was in the show. Like, I didn't understand why she was a character in the show. And then he was like, before the actual reveal, of who she was, he figured it out. But he said that like his favorite part of the show was just her performance and like really trying to put those pieces together, and also trying to figure out, like you said, who Sweeney Todd's wife is. So luckily, I think there were some people who did get it. But yeah, I definitely heard that there were a few people that were maybe a little confused by a few of the parts.
Yeah, and that's actually an interesting point that you brought up. So if you're watching, comment below. How do you follow an opera? Do you latch on to one of the many storylines that's happening in the show? It's kind of latch onto that and follow that. Are you able to keep up with a lot of operas? Comment below. Make sure you also smash the like button, hit the share button, and send us out with your friends. Again, we're here normally every Sunday at 6 p.m. When we start. So again, smash that like button, share it, and also comment below. How do you follow an opera? Are you just good at it and you can follow along? Because I've been doing this for 20 years and I still kind of suck at it. I get lost and I have to go back and do some research afterwards to see what was going on. But are you really good at it? Do you latch on to one storyline, or do you just go and just say, pretty music? I've done one Sondheim show, quote unquote, and that was West Side Story. I've done it twice, and that's not even really a Sondheim show. And there's pieces of it where you're like, okay, that was Sondheim. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like that was a Sondheim thing, and it's really difficult. Again, me personally, I just don't like it because it drives me crazy. You know, I don't enjoy it as much. And that's not to say I run away from a challenge. If you've never done a Sondheim show before, there's challenging, and then there's Sondheim. Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I think that's fair. Now, going back to what you were kind of talking about, the direction that our director Scott Rubel, who absolutely a genius, and the stuff that he comes up with. He's directed me twice now, going on 3 times, and hopefully 4 times here coming up soon. But the stuff he comes up with is just so good, and he modernized the show and made it not your classic, Sweeney Todd production. So, Tim, you were in the show. Why don't you explain a little bit as to what Scott's idea was and how you took it as an actor? First of all, when you first heard it, were you excited about it? Were you confused by it? And then at the end, how'd you feel about it once you really saw the puzzle pieces come together?
Right. So essentially his theme was that he was going to essentially have the story of Sweeney Todd take place in a dimension where London, during the plot of Sweeney Todd, is also involved with The Purge from the Purge movie franchise. So it didn't really affect the story in any way. It was more of like a visual aesthetic, which I really liked. Whereas like instead of us all wearing just like, mid-century like, fancy clothing or, like homeless on the street clothing or just time period appropriate clothing, all of the costuming was supposed to look as if it was characters in the Purge movies, so there were people who were just civilians that were walking on the street, and then there were people who were actually prepping to prepare for the Purge, and then like the whole climax of that theme and how the aesthetic kind of followed through was City on Fire, which is this like crazy hectic ensemble number where all of the stories are kind of coming to their big climaxes, and the ensemble is running through the streets literally singing, City on Fire, Rats in the Grass, and the lunatics yelling in the street, it's the end of the world. And so I think in moments like that, the theme really, really worked, and it really hit. And I think a lot of us on stage, we were just like, oh, like this makes a lot of sense. But I think, there are so many people who are purists or almost little like gatekeepers, like Sweeney Todd gatekeeper purists who are like, well, you can't do that, I think that there were people who saw the show that probably didn't understand it because they were just expecting a traditional production of Sweeney Todd.
Right. And that's always tough too, because you want people to come in and have an open mind, but you also, when you're directing something like that, you want to make it yours, you want to make it original, right, but you also want to stay true to what people are expecting when they come in.
Right.
Because we didn't advertise anything about it being a Purge setting or a different setting. We just had Sweeney Todd. So there may have been some people who came in, they were like, oh, this isn't Sweeney Todd. And that happens,
right,
and hopefully people walk away and they enjoy it. They don't completely shut down. I will say I was laughing extremely hard because they had I had went outside and there was a lady out there. They had a second event upstairs at the Maryland Theater, and they had a medium. So this lady was going, I guess, to talk to some of her dead relatives, try to get some answers, get some closure, perhaps. Well, she didn't go upstairs. She went into the Maryland Theater, into the auditorium. And because she had a ticket, the Ticketmaster scanners that they use, as long as it's a ticket that's from Ticketmasters, it'll pop up green to say valid. So she went to the auditorium. They scanned her ticket. She walks in the door because it said valid, and she sits down, right? Now, mind you, the curtain's open. There's the set. There's the playbills. There's stuff out there. It says Sweeney Todd, Sweeney Todd, Sweeney Todd. Me and Ann get up to do the curtain speech, like we always do, and we say, "Welcome to Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street." So anyway, I go outside, and it's right towards the end of Act 2, or in the middle of Act 2. And she's standing outside, and I had, Ann had introduced me as the president of Authentic Community Theater. So I walk out, and this lady says, she's like, "Hey, I have a complaint. Do you have a card?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a card, but what's wrong?" She was like, "Well, I sat in Sweeney Todd for 45 minutes, and I was here for the medium." And in my head, the only thing I could think was, it took you 45 freaking minutes to figure out that there wasn't going to be anybody coming out talking about to the dead people, like.
Really?
And so I told him, I was like, "No, that's actually not my job." She was like, "Well, you're the president," and I was like, "Yeah, of the company that's doing the show. I don't have any say.
Right.
Like, the ushers don't work for me. The concession stand people, they don't work for me. They're all in Maryland Theater. You have to talk to them." And so she was pretty displeased, but I couldn't help but laugh at. It took you 45 minutes to figure out that you weren't.
45 minutes.
Yeah, she said 45 minutes. I swear to God, my wife was right there with me, and she said 45 minutes. I was like, you got through half of Act 1 before being like, nobody's talking to dead people. I'm in the wrong place. Like, not to mention, again, the multiple times that we said, "Welcome to Sweeney Todd." I said it 3 times. I know I said Sweeney Todd 3 times and said it at least once.
Yeah.
And then they came out and sang the prologue. That
Attend the tale of Sweeney Todd.
Right.
I mean, come on.
So, I don't know. A funny story. Anyway, but now at the end of it, Tim, did you have something to say, John?
Just to me, I mean, Sweeney's a dark show, and it deals a lot.
There's
with
a lot of death. There is a lot of death.
I mean, maybe I'm trying to figure out what she was thinking of. Wow, this medium really went over the top, coming up with a production to build up to the whole death thing.
I hope so. I hope she's like, wow, this medium is really putting on a show.
She built this whole set. Yeah, wow.
At what
This
point
is
did
a
she
lot.
say, "Wait a minute, they're cutting people's throats. This is really poor taste"?
45 minutes in.
Right.
I'm guessing is when she finally figured it out.
After my first death.
If you're watching, I'm sorry. We're not making fun of you. We're just really trying to figure it out.
I'm making fun of you. Save your emails. I don't care. I'm making
sure
fun
at
of
the
you.
point that I got my throat slit, she was like, "Oh shit, this is a dark retelling."
But Tim, so how did you feel about the idea when it was first brought up? When Scott said, "Hey, we're doing the purge, we're doing this purge theme." How did you initially feel? Your first reaction, knowing that Scott doesn't watch the podcast.
So, well,
He does.
I thought it was a really cool theme. I think there was a lot of stuff that I was expecting that didn't happen, but that wasn't anyone's fault except just, we have a short period of time to get stuff done. But I think that as we went through it, I understood it, and so Scott would give me notes, and I kind of had like an understanding of what he was asking from me. But I could see that there were other people in the cast who didn't necessarily get it. And then slowly, as the process went and went on, people started to get it more and more and more. But there were definitely a few people in the cast who I just think never got it by the time we got to the end of the show. But I understood it. I thought it was very cool, and I think that if you're going to do a show like Sweeney Todd, where it's like so many people have done it, so many people have seen it, you might as well just go big and do something cool and do something interesting. Like, I really admired the choice, and I admired how the choice was translated. I think it was translated very well. Good.
Fantastic. And that brings us, I guess, to our next question. Off topic, but on topic. How do we feel about modernizing musicals? So you have stuff that's happened. Most recently, I think Oklahoma was the biggest modernization, along with West Side Story, the Steven Spielberg film that's coming out in December, maybe
Soon.
So it's coming out this year. I think during the holidays at some point. Again, that's modernized. How do we feel about that modernization of a old classic? I know I hated what they did with Oklahoma. Personally.
I didn't love it.
I didn't.
I hated what they did with the new West Side Story.
Yeah.
I thought it was awful.
It was one of those. I was grateful that COVID shut that down too.
Yeah.
Like I didn't. I know with Oklahoma, I when I heard that it was done in the round and it was done like completely differently, I was intrigued. I was like, okay, how do you take an old Rodgers and Hammerstein classic like Oklahoma that, mind you, I've done it like 4 times. It sucks. And I hate it. But how do you take that and modernize this? This could be kind of neat. And then I was just like, yeah, no, this is worse, which is hard to believe. But it was. I wasn't a fan of it. But when it comes to modernization as a whole, I don't mind it. I think it gives you a fresh perspective on things. Again, as long as it doesn't change the story at all. But how do you guys feel, John? What do you think about the modernization of classic musicals?
All right. So for me, I think if it's a really popular one, then you don't touch it because it's going to really tick off so many people. It's just not worth it. If it's one that was okay, had a middling following, and yeah, people know it, but it's not one of the big ones,
Right.
then that is prime target for modernization because there will be enough people. Yeah, there are going to be some people that are like, oh, no, I love that musical. It's great. But there are going to be enough people that say, you know what, there's a chance to make it better.
Right.
Whereas if it's one of the big ones, then people put it on a pedestal. And no matter what you do, you can knock it out of the ballpark and they're still going to hate it.
Right.
So it's got to be one of the either little-known ones or middle-of-the-road musicals that have a lot of opportunity for improvement so that fresh take can be accepted.
Especially when it comes to ticket sales. If you have people who are like, oh, I'm going to go see it because I love this show. I'm going to go see it and check it out. And then if you advertise it, right, you have some people who are like, you know what, I wasn't really a fan, but they're twisting some stuff around.
Yeah.
Maybe this could be more enjoyable.
Right.
Yeah.
Tom, what do you think?
I completely agree with John. And I think that, if you're going to make the choice, you just have to stand by the choice, and you have to be prepared for people to say, this wasn't good, or this wasn't what I expected. I forget where it was, but I remember I read a news article one time about, a theater that was specifically, queer-oriented. So it was a theater company that was made up of, gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans people. And they did a production of Grease where it was the exact production. They didn't change any of the lines, but Sandy was a guy.
They gender bended it.
Yeah, well, and the only character they gender bended was Sandy.
Oh, is that?
And it was fantastic. I think the only line they changed was, I think, in Summer Nights, and Danny says, "Wonder what he's doing now," instead of "she's doing now," and the guys kind of look at him. And it actually made the show make a lot more sense because Sandy's normally played by a beautiful woman, and it's why is he upset that why does he want his friends to know that this hot girl that's nice and smart?
Well, because he lied about banging her on the beach.
Well, yeah, the whole thing is stupid. But whatever, the way that
the whole show's stupid.
Exactly, the way they did it, it made sense. But there were people who were just furious because they thought they were coming to see a production of Grease, and they kind of twisted it and made it a little different, and so I think that it's okay to do stuff like that. I think you have to be very transparent a lot of times, or maybe you don't. But like I said, whatever you do, you just have to stand by it. If you make a choice, you just have to be prepared to say, yeah, we made the choice. Sorry you didn't like it.
Can I say about Grease how I don't know why it's so popular?
Nope.
People really like
it's
the
one
music.
of the worst storylines on planet Earth.
Awful.
You have these 2 people who met, and then somehow they disappeared. Or they went away for the summer. They went back to their schools, and dude's telling all his buddies how he got lucky and all this other stuff. And she somehow shows up to the school he goes to. And the entire world, you show up at this school where he's at, and then not only that, she changes her entire personality and the way she dresses for this dude that has literally treated her like shit the entire show.
It has not aged well. At
like
all.
it's like, what are you doing? Like, are you kidding? Like, to me, and people were like, oh well, Danny tried to change himself too. He had the Letterman sweater. No, he took that shit off and threw it as soon as he saw it. Was like, great, you're doing it. I don't have to. Wonderful. Let's go make out in the little bendy whatever that. Right. Stupid shit is the Tilta whatever, like it's so. And then you fly off into space in a car, and then you get the conspiracy theorists that are like, oh well, she died, and this was all a dream. Like, oh Jesus, like no, they were like, oh, this is a cool new effect nowadays. Let's do that. But I think Grease is terrible, and I can't believe I sold my soul to do that show. I
had fun.
It was a good time, and again, the music is fun. It's the story is just
bad.
I'm surprised feminists haven't gone absolutely crazy at any of those shows.
There are a good number of shows like that, though.
Like My Fair Lady, for example. You can't do My Fair. If anyone says they're doing My Fair Lady, it's like two old white dudes telling a woman how she has to act. Mm-hmm. Like, whoa. Good luck today. Somebody actually said that we should do it at Authentic Community Theater. I laughed in their face. I was like, yeah, that's not going to go well at all. Those were the times, right? So again, Sweeney Todd, great success. People had a great time. Kudos to the entire cast, especially Jeff Kleiss, who played Sweeney. You had Beth, who played Joanna, and Ben, who played what's his name, Anthony, and you had Mrs. Lovett, who played Karen. No, Heather. Karen, who played Mrs. Lovett. I didn't produce the show, sorry. And Lindsay Sullivan as a beggar woman was absolutely stunning.
And the entire cast was fantastic.
It's very stellar. The music was strong. Congratulations to the creative team. Again, not an easy show to put together, so congratulations to them. Received very well. Now, the next one that we did recently was the Haunted House. We're gonna get some tea here.
Recently, they were all of these.
All of these were recently.
3 weeks.
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus. But we're gonna get into some tea with the Haunted House because we had some fun with that guy. So what we did actually. Is I had this idea when we got the Black Box, and Scott and I sat down and talked about it, about doing a haunted house that was similar to a very popular haunted house that hasn't been around for about 15 years. It was the Leitersburg Haunted House in Leitersburg, Maryland, and people flocked to this place. You're talking about tens of thousands in one month's time. It was super popular, and one of the regular actors at the Leitersburg Haunted House was. His name was Michael McGinnis, and he played Catman. And he was on our posters that we were advertising here and all of that. So he kind of came in and helped out as a consultant, trying to get us on the right page because I'd never produced a haunt. I'd been in one before, but we were really trying to make it as good as we could. So he came in and consulted, and he called in a couple old friends who were originals at the Leitersburg Haunted House. Shout out Brian Taylor. He brought his son Ian Taylor with him, and then Mike Green, who again were all involved with the Leitersburg Haunted House. So we had a theater style show upstairs in the performance space that Tim wrote. We were going along the whole exorcism trend that's more happening now, and Tim did a great job with that. And then downstairs, we were originally just going to do a big maze. Right, mm-hmm. People go in and out of stuff, and when Mike McGinnis brought in Brian Ian Taylor, and Mike Green, they said, "Why don't we turn this into an old school style show like we did at the Leitersburg Haunted House for so many years?" And it was a seance where they had to bring they were bringing back a child from the dead, and they trade a soul for a soul. So a demon came out with a voodoo witch or bone rattler, mm-hmm. and the demon stole somebody from the audience at random and
that
brought
was
him into the back. So he was like, "Why don't we do that?" So we ended up doing that instead, and then did a much smaller maze than we were originally planning to. But it was so well received. There were people that came in and were like, "Oh my God, I remember going to the old Leitersburg Haunted House. This was amazing." I remember Dustin, who does shows with us, he came out, and Dustin and I used to go to the Leitersburg Haunted House together in high school every year until they closed. And he was like, "That voice was so, I recognized that voice." And he was talking about Brian, because Brian was playing the same role, essentially, that he kind of played when the Leitersburg Haunted House was. I was like, "Yeah, it's because that was him. That was the guy." Like and he was like, "Oh my God!" So it was received very well. So, Tim, you were one of the actors in the haunted house, in the upstairs show. Again, you wrote it. How was it? What was it like? How different of experience was it doing show over and over and over and over and over and over again? What were the challenges? How'd you enjoy it? What was it like being in that kind of show?
Right. So I'll be completely honest. I had literally just finished Sweeney Todd, and we were preparing for Rent, and so I really went into the entire experience like, I'm tired. I just want to get this over with. Like,
I'm sleepy.
You know what I mean? This is gonna be a long day. It's gonna be a long weekend, and then we did the first show, and it was by no means a perfect show. I think we probably fumbled through a few of the lines. A few pages in the script, but we all stood up and walked to the dressing room after the first show, and we were like, that was fun. That was really, really fun. And then we kept running it, and it got to the point where, I think Thursday was probably our slowest night. Because it was the first night, and it was a Thursday. And by the middle of the night, we were all, like, obviously tired, but we were all like, once the line had slowed down, we were like, oh, keep them coming. Like, we want to, we were so pumped up that we just wanted it to keep going. And it, whenever you do theater, especially, the kind of theater that we normally do at ACT, it is very formulaic. We rehearse, and we have structure, and we have blocking, and like the lines are the same, the blocking is the same every single time you do it. So to do a show where the entire goal is to play to wherever the audience sits, play off of whatever the audience is feeling, it gave us the opportunity to, I probably ended the show in a different spot every single time. I probably changed a line every single, time that I went out there.
We wrote it, so we're allowed.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wrote that upstairs script. So I was like, I literally gave everybody in the cast permission. I was like, you don't have to say a single line in this correctly. I will not be offended. But it was fun because we actually just started revamping the script. You know what I mean? It got to the point where we all started just rewording lines to make more sense and to actually like build the story more and to build like the connections between the characters more. So it was kind of one of those things where it was like, it was one of the few times in theater where it was actually very smart to rehearse less, to do less rehearsals, because our rehearsal process was actually while we were running the show, which I think helped us to build like a really, really strong show. And we had a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah, and that was by design and by availability because we were all so freaking busy. But part of the reason I told everybody because they, you guys were actually pretty nervous. You were like, we have to rehearse this thing. I was like, yeah, I know. I just come knowing what the story is, and we'll go from there because every audience is going to be completely different. Right. You're not going to know what that audience is going to be like. So having that fluidness and just that openness to be able to switch stuff up randomly to cater to that small audience. We were doing audiences between 15 and 30 at a time or so. So it made it easier to be like, look, just come knowing the story, kind of know your lines, and if you got to change something up because something's not working, change it up, have fun. It's a little bit of improv too, so that was great. Now, John, you came on Saturday night and you were a tour guide for us. So you kind of brought people through the experience a little bit. What was it like? What were some of the things that you were hearing from people, and how were they responding to a little bit of everything?
So it was really funny because to start off with, like, I had scissors and I'd cut off everybody's wristband just to make sure that we knew who was coming in. And everybody was laughs and smiles and having a good time. And, oh, why are you taking the wristband? And we had to deal with the doghouse a couple doors down to get a discount.
Shouts out to Jay at the doghouse. Yep. Hit that button, Jay. That's the invoice. Got him.
Nice. Wow. But, everybody was relaxed and happy. And then they get in and they're looking around and right there at the atrium, we've got a little bit of decoration and everything, and they're like not really knowing what to expect. And we get them in and start to get them seated. Well, right off the bat, the music was really loud. There are these red lights that are frenetically chasing around the room, and that set them off a little bit. And we're telling them, sit down, real fast.
I don't think it helped me stand there with that with that crow mask on.
Yeah, not so much. That was a little creepy.
Yeah, I loved it. It was fun.
But once they got seated, the music went on for just a little bit more, and then, bam, music turned off, lights came on, and it's just regular white light, and Tim comes in. And it startled them. and they didn't know how to take this. They didn't know what to make of it. Is this real? Is this a show? What's going on? And then they start talking. People start screaming and coming in. There's a loud shriek that played, and when that happened, every single show, half the audience just didn't expect it, and they jumped. And then by the end, the lights go off, and when they come back on, everybody's dead on the floor except for the possessed girls, and they're like right up in somebody's face, and it freaked them out. By the time we finished downstairs, 3/4 of them at least were pretty freaked out. So it was definitely something that affected people.
Yeah.
And that was really, because that's the point. You go to a haunted house, come on, you're going because you want to get scared.
Yeah.
Or at least
enjoy the,
Right.
or try to not be
Right.
scared and show people how tough you are. But
exactly.
it was definitely a good time, and in producing this and kind of getting everything together. I mean, it was a lot of work that went into it. We had to build, we built walls and
The floor that you guys made downstairs.
that, by the
there's-
way, Tim swore was going to snap in half.
He
he
didn't feel great
swore.
about it.
So when
And
we
it,
were.
it didn't. It cracked, but it didn't break.
So the way the floor was built, it was purposefully built where whenever you walked on it, it kind of gave like you were
like a
almost-
rotten
yeah.
floor.
So like it was built purposely that way. And I remember Tim walked on it the first day. He was like, "Robbie, this is gonna break. This is gonna break. We have." I was like, "No, Tim, it's
And
not
it-
gonna
it
break."
made scary noises, and I was nervous.
That was cool.
But it worked out perfectly. But we had
was
to
cool.
build all of that, and we had to kind of move everything around it and make it all work in the basement of the black box that we had. So it made it so it was. It was really enjoyable for that. Like as I was kind of looking, I was like, "Oh yeah, all this little stuff is really fun. Like these little things." And shout out to Sam DeJesus, by the way. He was the freaking MVP. I mean, everybody did a great job, but there was something about Sam when he was performing in that haunted house. He played a bartender, like a creepy bartender that was ripping teeth out and taking blood and making shots of blood with it, and he just had such a great time.
Oh, yeah,
and
fantastic.
he was amazing. I mean, he was an absolute superstar. Again, everybody did a great job. Everybody did exactly what they were asked to do. But Sam, it was one of those things where you could tell he was having way too much
it
fun.
was-
You
yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah.
he was
He had a
having
good
a
time.
great time.
he was in his element.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
for sure.
and he was absolutely phenomenal. So kudos to Sam if you're watching. Amazing job. But the haunted house. We're gonna get to the tea here in a second. Anybody commenting, John? Anything good going on?
A whole bunch of comments.
Oh, we
came
love it. Keep them
pouring
comments
through.
coming. Keep them coming.
Well, they weren't coming through for a long time. Then all of a sudden, bam, they all showed up. So I'm sorry I didn't address them
That's okay.
earlier for whatever reason. Let's see. We've got Brittany Atwater said Sondheim is a beast to sing. Yes. Yes, it is. It's intense. Let's see. You talked about, hi, Brittany. Maggie Donovan said, oh, wow, she said a lot. I love when shows bend and break the stereotypical castings and represent the LGBT community and individuals. I also think so many talented people who aren't traditional folks could play characters like Ellie from Legally Blonde, not always a white woman, or Jack from Newsies, not always a white guy, for example, still tell the stories and represent real life. Yeah, I
Sure. Yes.
agree.
I completely agree.
Break that mold.
Weird acting, right? You have to act like something. Who would have thunk it?
Let's see. It was a lovely production of Sweeney. Bravo to all involved from Brittany Atwater. Maydeen
Brittany.
says hi.
Hi, Dean.
So yeah, that's,
Answer your text, May.
So a lot of comments from the audience, and keep them coming.
Yes,
we love
keep
it.
'em coming.
Sorry they didn't come through until they came through literally as one gigantic block.
Nice.
So
Cool.
Go
Well,
Facebook.
definitely keep them coming. It must be that meta bullshit they're working on. Anyway, so the tea with the haunted house. All right, so we're gonna get into some fun stuff here, just because we like to cause some trouble every once in a while, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, for those of you who don't know, back in 2015, 16-ish, somewhere in there, I had just moved back from Virginia Beach. And I was a co-owner at a film studio, and we were doing haunted house tours, and we had a podcast, a very successful podcast, and so we were going to all these different haunted houses in the area from Field of Screams to We were going to Kim's Crypt, so many different ones all around the place. And me and my business partner were like, okay, we need to do something because we have all the equipment to really turn this into something bigger with our production abilities and things like that. So I immediately told him about the old Layersburg Haunted House, again, closed in 2007, was our last year. And I told him, I was like, the school that they used is still there. It's owned by the Layersburg Raritan. Mm-hmm. We could probably get that school and get everything together and bring it back and make it bigger and better than what it was with what we're able to bring to the table. So he was like, absolutely, let's figure it out. So I had created a group on Facebook. The group still exists today. It was called Bring Back the Layersburg Haunted House group on Facebook. Within like 2 hours, we had 15,000 people in the group within 2 hours. It was nuts. And then I went and I had a meeting with the Layersburg Raritan and had a full presentation, kind of like you have when you join the board with us, John, like a full like PowerPoint presentation. Like, and we were telling them, like, look, this is what we're gonna do. This is, you let us use this school, we will give you 75% of the profit. 75% we will give to the Layersburg Raritan because they do a lot of good work within the community. Mm-hmm. They really do. They raise money for Boy Scouts and different other nonprofits, and they do a lot. And we were like, we'll give you 75% of the profits. Just give us the building and let us do what we have to do. And they said, well, the building's not going to pass inspection because it needs a sprinkler system and the HVAC system needs updated. That's why they stopped doing it. And I was like, I promise you those things will be covered. Don't worry about it. I got it. And they were like, we don't have to do anything. I was like, no. They're like, you don't want us to like work concession stand? No, if you don't want to, don't. I don't need it. I was like, just give me the building and let me and my partner do our thing. So they were like, okay. And one weird guy asked if we were going to get our organs locally sourced. And I was like, the fuck are you talking about? And he said, are you gonna get your cow tongues and your brains and stuff local? I was like, sure. Why not? That's whatever. But so
that is the weirdest question.
Weirdest question I've ever gotten. Ever. I've done many presentations in front of many committees and things. That was the weirdest thing I've ever heard anybody say to me.
Your organs locally.
Yeah, locally sourced. But anyway. So we start running with everything, me and my partner, and we're going. And again, this group is continuing to grow. We're talking 20, 30,000 people in this group now on Facebook. Everybody's excited. They're like, oh my God, is this actually happening? And I was giving them updates. Like, we got the approval from the Raritan to use the building. They said everything was good to go. I had the sprinkler system donated. They were going to come in and do the sprinkler system at no cost, and the HVAC system completely donated. No questions. They were going to get the building up to code. And I had 6 contractors that said, anything else that you need, we will take care of. For free, out of pocket, just buy the supplies. I was like, great. We're bringing this thing back. Well, curveball comes in 2015, 2016, whatever it was. And they say that somebody jumps in the group that was from the original group that did it and started causing a bunch of issues like, we don't want it to come back, you can't make it come back, you guys need to stop this, we stopped it for a reason, blah, 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 blah. And I was just like, okay. And of course, people jumped on them so bad, was just like, F all, fuck you, we hate you, like, we don't care what you think. And it was I sat back and watched it. I was like, this is fun. So they started causing an issue. So that group actually went and trademarked Layersburg Haunted House. It had never been trademarked before in the 30 years that they had been doing it. So they went out and trademarked it and then spent thousands of dollars on a lawyer and a private investigator. They got a lawyer to write up a cease and desist letter and paid a private investigator thousands of dollars to follow me to give it to me. And I was just like, okay, that's weird. You could have just, told me you needed to meet up with me. Right. It would have been very easy. But so the private investigator actually knew my cousin, Matt. And he called Matt and he said, hey, I could have gotten your cousin, but I didn't because of where he was and didn't want to cause a scene. I was at a funeral. And he was like, can you just have him call me so I can give him this thing? So my cousin calls me and says, hey, come get this. Or call this guy. He has something to give to you. It's about the Layersburg Haunted House. Like, just call him, get it over with. Don't mess with it. He knows where you are. I was like, okay. So I called him and he was like, where are you right now? And I told him, I was like, well, I'm at home. He was like, can you meet me somewhere in Greencastle? I was like, yeah, I'll meet you at Sheets. So I drive A.C.T. He gets out of this big black SUV. It was like an Expedition or whatever. And he hands me this paper. And I was like, you could have given this to me whenever. Like, it's not that big of a deal. He was like, yeah, but I get to charge them more if I take my time. And I was like, good for you. So they gave me a cease and desist letter. And in researching the cease and desist letter, all it said was I couldn't use Leitersburg Haunted House. I couldn't name it that. So I was like, okay. So I changed the name of the Facebook group to bring back the haunted house so everybody knows what we're talking about, which, again, saved me from trademark infringement and licensing issues. So anyway, fast forward, God, however many years, 6 years later, we're doing this haunted house. Brian and Ian and Mike are all involved, and they're posting on Facebook, and their old friends are seeing it and starting to cause issues. Oh, you guys can't be doing this. It's trademark infringement, da-da-da-da-da. Well, apparently they don't know what trademark infringement law is, which means I just can't name our haunted house, the Leitersburg Haunted House. That's all a trademark infringement is. They trademark that name. I can't say that name. They were claiming that because we said it's similar to the old Leitersburg Haunted House, they felt as though that was an infringement on their trademark. I laughed in their face and said, no, it's not. It just isn't. That's not how it works. We didn't call, it's the A.C.T. Black Box Studio Haunted House. The A.C.T. Black Box Haunted House, right? That's the name of it.
It was written on everything.
Me saying that it's like the old Leitersburg Haunted House is not an infringement on the trade. So they were blowing up on Facebook for a little bit, being all crotchety and old and just starting problems.
What was their beef with it? That's what I don't understand.
Because what happened was, and they'll say that they wanted to die for a reason because it was 25, 30 years, whatever it was. They wanted to just go away, and they wanted the legacy to be that. At the end of the day, what it is they're pissed because they couldn't figure out how to do it anymore because they couldn't get the sprinklers, they couldn't get the HVAC, they couldn't get the building up to code. So because they didn't know how to do it, they got all pissed off that somebody else did. So anyway, if you're watching, we're doing it next year too. File a lawsuit if you want to.
For the Black Box.
Yeah, for the A.C.T. Black Box Haunted House. That's very similar to the old Leitersburg Haunted House. And again, talk to your trademark lawyer. They'll let you know that I didn't do anything wrong. So it was fun. And, I felt bad for Brian, Mike, and Ian and Mike because, and Ian wasn't that involved because he's Brian's son. So he was much younger. So he really didn't do a whole lot. But he still remembered and had fond memories of it. And Brian and Mike and Ian actually went to the old schoolhouse in Leitersburg and took pictures in their costumes before the Saturday show after everybody was like bitching about them on Facebook and posted them. And then Brian put an old picture of the old schoolhouse as his cover photo. I love that, man. Brian, if you're watching, shouts out to you. You're awesome. But yeah, I mean, people were really butthurt about it, man. Like they were some of them were really upset. And it's just like, come have fun with us. Like we I think how it started is Brian and Mike reached out to some of the old crew and we're like, hey, this group's doing this. They're really passionate about it. They're trying to bring a little something back and pay homage to what people loved in this area for so long. Because at this point you have Creekside Manor, which kudos to them. They've been doing it for a long time with KOA Campground and shouts out to you. I've been there. And you have Raven's Eye Manor. I worked there. But outside of that, you got to drive more than an hour to get to any other haunts. Right. So this is something that this community really has been wanting and really, in my opinion, needs. And the people that came through absolutely loved it. And we did pay homage to the Leitersburg Haunted House and had a very similar show as a seance in the basement as the second show that people came to see. And yeah, it was a lot of fun and it was really a good time. It would not have been possible without Mike, Ian, and Brian, and Mike. So again, thank you guys so much. And we look forward to playing that with you again next year, much earlier. We're gonna start planning in June, and really bring some fun stuff. So shout out to them. Thank you all so much for your help. You guys were absolutely incredible, amazing performers, and we had a really great time. So all in all, even with the tea, the haunted house was fun. I think people really enjoyed it. There was one lady that got taken in the basement, and she came. The demon came out and scooped her up, and they would bring them in the kitchen area, and then we give them free tickets to come back around and do it again, so they can go through the rest of it if they want. And she was like, "Son of a bitch! I knew they were gonna take me." I was like, "How'd you know?" She was like, "They took me when I was 11 at Leitersburg. That's how I knew." And I was like, "Oh shit! That's the actual same guy that took you. Is right there."
That's
awesome. But again, it was. So many people were like, "This was so great. Like, this was nice to go back." Like, I had a long talk with Dustin because again, we used to do it every year. It was like our thing. Me, Dustin, and Mike Schultz, one of our tech directors, who also shouts out to Mike Schultz at Nightlife DJ for all the work he put in with the sound and the lighting and all that. Thank you, buddy. I really appreciate you. But 3 of us would go. And Dustin and I talked, and he was like, it was nice to see things done differently, with our twist on it, but it was also nice to see that piece where it was like, yeah, I remember this. I remember this from when I was a kid. It was so I was very proud of it. I was very happy with it. Again, kudos to everybody that was involved, and thank you to all those that were on the team to help. And look forward to starting to play in that in June. So if you missed it, next year, check us out. We'll probably have more than one weekend. I think next year, we're gonna do 2 weekends. So it'll be a lot of fun. So tune in for that coming up in about 6-7 months. We'll start discussing that. And then the last thing that we did, Rent, was a Tuesday at the Maryland Theater. They said it couldn't be done. It was dumb to do it. But we had about 700 people packed into the Maryland Theater. First of all, what a crowd. Oh my God, what a crowd! We talked about it when we had the Rent takeover about the difference in a crowd for a rock opera like Rent and anywhere else. I mean, everybody was just so pumped for it. It was one of those things that people seem to be looking forward to, and even doing it on Tuesday night didn't keep them away. I'm sure if we did it on a Friday night or a Saturday night, we'd have had more people. But such a great turnout. The show itself was incredible. You met most of the cast here. The last podcast we did, I think that was the last one we did, right?
I think so,
which is actually on Broadway World now. Broadway World saw it and asked if they could use it. And
nice.
So it's on Broadway World. They said they really loved it. So kudos to you, John, if you was the rest of the cast of Rent. You can go to BroadwayWorld.com and check that out. It was incredible. Now, I was in the original cast, and I was in this cast as well. Tim, this was your first time in the cast because you hated Rent. And you didn't want to be part of it the first time around. Yeah, he didn't like Rent.
What is wrong with you?
We'll talk.
Yeah, that's what the podcast is for. Talk, Tim. Answer John's question.
Finish.
All right. So my question was what was it like for you, again, because we kind of talked to the leads in the cast and what it was like for some of those new folks to join the cast, and then we talked to, so I want to hear from you as somebody who was in the ensemble that played a few different roles. You played Gordon, you were a homeless person, you were a bohemian, and a cop, I think. And that was the end of it for you. So what was it
Joanne's dad.
Oh, you were also Joanne's dad. You were Mr. Jefferson.
At 22, I was Joanne's dad.
You were Mr. Jefferson. That's right. So what was it like for you jumping in the ensemble and being a part of that show?
As we discussed a moment ago, I always had an appreciation for a lot of aspects of Rent. But overall, I think that I really struggled to digest a lot of the major plot points. Mostly, though, that just comes from like as a young queer person, it is hard to continuously watch gay characters get killed while heroin addicts are coming back to life. You know what I mean? That is hard for me. You know what I mean? Where you have a character who is not only so incredible and such an incredible person like Angel, who Wilson Jermaine Heredia nailed. His portrayal of that character. He won a Tony for it. You know what I mean? And
did you see the original with him?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, because a lot of people say he was
watching it. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people say what he did in the movie was great, but what he did on stage
was fantastic. And so that was my biggest gripe, I think, when I was younger. And I didn't relate to the way that the original cast played Mark or Roger or really any of the main characters in the show. I really just didn't relate to their portrayals. I thought they were really skeezy. I thought they were selfish. I thought they were very self-indulgent. And so I think overall it made the entire storyline yeah, I felt like that homeless woman. Who the fuck do you think you are? Whenever she says that to Mark, that's exactly how I felt. And so I never really understood. That being said, I've always given Robbie his kudos for the way that he directed the characters, and I've always given the kudos to the way that Ryan and now Jeremy played and were directed to play Mark, and the way that nobody has and nobody will ever play Roger the way that Dustin plays Roger. It is a completely different character than what is written in that script, and it is entirely the way that it's been directed for him to play and the way that he does it. You know what I mean? Like Roger's just this. Oh, I'm a manly man. I'm going to stay in my house and I'm going to be upset and I'm going to be, self-indulgent and just be miserable. And I think Dustin really tapped into the fact that misery was not intentional. And that misery was not his own choice. You know what I mean? Right. He was not choosing to stay in the house. He was truly suffering. Damaged. You know what I mean? And
kudos to Dustin on most of that. I mean, I know when him and I talked about it, I said I need Roger to not be so bitchy and whiny.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Because on its face, it's like, shut up. Yeah, your girlfriend killed herself. Yeah, you guys have AIDS. But good God, enough's enough. It's been 7 months.
Yeah, but
you haven't left your house in 7 months.
Right.
Bro, get up.
Yeah.
And the way it's played, and again, nothing as Adam Pascal. But because that may have been how they want it to be. But,
exactly. Oh, he as an actor is fantastic.
I told Dust specifically, I need it to not be bitchy and whiny. I need to see a vulnerability as to why you're doing this. Especially during when you do One Song Glory. I need to feel it. Yeah. And we blocked it as such, where it's just very just he does eventually come out of his shell, but it's just very closed off and just not sure how to deal with it. But kudos to Dustin, because I pretty much gave him that one piece, gave him the blocking, he did the rest.
Yeah, but to answer your question, I loved it. I really loved being in the ensemble. You know what I mean? I don't often get to be. Well, let me reword this. I have been fortunate enough, and also I don't know how to word this correctly.
Sometimes it's more fun to be in the ensemble.
Yes,
that's
okay.
I
the past few shows I've been lucky enough to get to play really wonderful roles, but I haven't gotten the opportunity to be a part of ensembles where I'm like, oh wow, this is such a strong ensemble that it feels really worth it. Mm-hmm. And this was one of those shows, doing Oklahoma. Our production of Oklahoma was one of those shows where I could be in the ensemble of that cast of Oklahoma for a long time because it was just so fun. We all had a good time. There was so much for us to do. That's really how I felt with this production of Rent. I felt Robbie's like, no, I will never do Oklahoma
again. Do it 3 times, then we'll talk.
I'll never do Oklahoma again. Well, I think that, there was so much love there, and the music is so incredible. I really enjoyed doing it a lot.
Yeah, and I think Rent, again, we talked about last week, there's no show like it.
No, absolutely.
There's no comparison to it, and people can try. There's no comparison about what that show does to you, not only as an audience member, but when you're in it.
Oh, I mean, sobbing.
It's one of those things where we ran the show 10 times, 10 times, top to bottom. It still just hits, mm-hmm. and there's something that I think makes it worse when there are people there.
When there are over 700 people in the room that are just absorbing it and feeling it.
And you're getting that feedback from them. It's like, oh, shit, we're doing this. I remember Billy Blair, who played our angel, leaned into me at one point and said, okay, here we go. Mm-hmm. Because Billy was so complimentary. Now, again, Billy works with Broadway talent on a regular basis, right. With Broadway Plus and as an accompanist and as a teacher. And, he's incredible. And when he had, of course, he had some reservations coming in 2 weeks before to kind of do the show and, and the way that we did it. Not that he didn't want to do it, but it was like, okay, how do we make these details work? And him and I worked all those out, and it was great. But he looked at me after we did I'll Cover You. And he was like, okay, here we go. Right. We're on cloud 9 right now. We're moving. Mm-hmm. And it was great. The show itself, John, you came to see it with Gideon, mm-hmm. and Heather, your wife, was there mm-hmm. as well. What were your takes from it? Because you saw it the first time or no?
Yeah, we did.
And then you saw it this time. So what were your takes away? Because again, you kind of saw the show and you knew there was going to be a little bit of difference to it, but not a whole lot, as we were staying true to that vision, because we didn't do anything crazy the first time. We did the show. Mm-hmm. We did the show the way it was meant to be done, and there were a couple changes here and there, and a couple fixes here and there. But what did you take away this time as you were watching it?
Okay, so I actually had a question for you regarding this one. So you did when Angel dies. Mm-hmm. Sorry, spoilers.
Spoiler alert if you haven't figured that out. But yeah.
When Angel dies, your character gets up and sings a song, and during the song, you had so much emotion, so much raw emotion just pouring out, and it came through and it shook the audience. It really did. It was an amazing performance. What were you channeling to do that?
A lot of it actually is my mom. Which yesterday was 12 years since she passed. But a lot of it was channeling that emotion and you know, realizing that like my mom never got to see me successful. You know, she saw me as the 17-year-old fuck up. You know, she used to call me. She used to say that I was her little broken heart. You know, because I was a shithead. You know, there's no way around it. I was not a good person. You know, but you know, that's when I channel a lot of time because the night before she died, I read her a book. You know, it's I love you forever, I like you for always, for as long as I'm living, my mom you'll be. And he, you know, so as I'm going through that, that's the one time, and I've had a lot of death, you know, in my family. I'm an orphan, but you know, that's the first thing that I look towards, and you know, it sucks because it really does bring back, you know, the raw, real emotion, and it sucks. Sure. You know, because I try to get there, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta get through this. I gotta get through this freaking song. Like, right. I can't get too far, otherwise this isn't gonna come out.
Right. At one point, your voice started to crack.
Yep.
And I've never heard your voice crack while singing before, so it kind of stood out, but it was appropriate. It was perfect.
Yeah, it was. I had to pull back real hard too because I was like, "Oh, here we go." But no, I think, and not only just that, the show just does it to you,
right? Yeah.
You know, because again, I mean, Tim was talking about how, like, you know, why does Angel have to be the one to die, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and that was actually one of the questions I asked Wilson when I first talked to him the first time when we were doing it the first time. I was like, man, it sucks that Mimi gets to live, you know, being kind of a shitty person. Let's be honest. You know, who made really bad decisions, but you have Angel, who is just this light of the world, you know, and the light of these people around them. Why does Angel have to be the one to die? And I remember Wilson looked at me and he said, "Listen," he was like, "If Angel doesn't die, there's no sacrificial lamb.
Right.
There's no reason for people to second guess how they're living their life." If Mimi dies, like, well, she did heroin, she did some crappy stuff. She was, you know, she slept around. She did a lot of really, made a lot of really bad decisions. But everybody loves Angel. Angel does nothing wrong other than kills a dog. But again, it turns into a comedic part. But you know, Angel needed to be that sacrificial lamb for people to go, if it could happen to her, it can happen to me.
Right.
This amazing person that everybody loves happened to her. I'm kind of shitty. I might need to change my life around because that's where I'm headed.
Right.
And he said it to me, and it's like the light bulb went off. I was like, of course that's why Angel has to die. If Mimi dies, it's like, well, yeah. I'm not doing heroin. I'm not sleeping around.
She had it coming.
You know, it kind of is what it is. Of course she died, but. Yeah. You know, and then I asked him, I was like, well, how do you feel about Mimi coming back? Because, again, the show's based on La Boheme, Puccini's La Boheme, and Mimi dies. You know, when the last note in La Boheme is when he sings Me, Me, just like in Rent.
Right.
But the lights don't come back up. That's the end of the show in La Boheme. And I asked him, I was like, how do you feel about that? He was like, it shows that it's never too late. It's not too late to change. You know, even when you're banging on death's door, it's not too late to change and to give yourself another opportunity to love.
Right.
And he said that, I was like, oh my God, like that's, of course, right. That's genius. Jonathan Larson was a genius how he wrote that.
He really was.
I mean, and when Wilson explained to me, I was like, okay. I was like, yeah, because I was always one of like, I wish Mimi did die. She should be dead. She should be dead. And then he said to me, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I don't know why I didn't see it. So it's, you know, so it's pulling a lot just from the story itself, but I appreciate the kind words. I think the best compliment I got was when you told me that Gideon felt it.
Yeah, he did.
And if you don't know Gideon, he's a kind of a stone face, straight face, just like Meh.
He felt it hard.
Amazing kid. I love him to death. He's one of my favorites. But that was. If I can get Gideon, I can get anybody. The show for me was everything it needed to be.
Right.
Everything it needed to be, and I feel like for a lot of people in that cast, they needed it too.
Yeah, I think for all of us, getting to perform in front of 700 people, getting to perform this show specifically,
Been a long time since those numbers have happened.
700 people,
On a Tuesday.
after, really over 2 years, because I don't think we had a night of 700 people for West Side.
Nope.
So over 2 years. Because before West Side was Beauty and the Beast, and we definitely did for Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
So
Beauty and the Beast, we
been,
had 900 and
Back when you wore gold lame, yeah.
Yes.
You had your wiener out in front of 900 people.
I got 900 people to come see me with my wiener out.
Every show.
In a
Every
kid's show, yes.
I love
that is true.
Oh, you're
I set
never
myself
let
up
that
for that one. But, yeah, after 2 years, and it's been a hard 2 years, and we've been working so hard to try to get theater to be accessible to over 700 people, you know what I mean? Get these big crowds in, because that's why we work so hard on these shows for people
On a
to
Tuesday.
come see them on a Tuesday. Yes.
So some of you other theater executives that thought that I was stupid and couldn't do it. Gotcha. No names though. No names. Staying nice. But yeah. So again, if you missed Rent, that sucks. Save your emails. We're not doing it again for a long time. Okay?
And there's no need to. I
think we went out on a bang. And
both productions were incredibly strong. Both productions brought a lot to the table. This one specifically brought so much to the table. You know what I mean? It was such a spectacular show, and those over 700 people that got to see it, I think, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I look forward. Wilson called me and asked me for a copy of it, so I look forward to getting his feedback again.
That'd be wonderful.
So, Wilson, it's on the way, buddy. So let's. So again, we have one more topic we're gonna get into today that we've been putting off forever, and I want to get to it. But before we do, some amazing things coming up, Jay. We're gonna start hitting these advertisements. Some amazing stuff that we have coming up. First of all, Broadway Babes at the Black Box Studio, November 12th and 13th. You'll get to see myself, Jeremy Trammell, Jeff Clace, who have both been on the show before. Jeff played Sweeney Todd. Jeremy from Buddy the Elf. He just played Mark in Rent, and he was also in Heathers as one of the jocks. Andre Brown, who you saw as the judge in Sweeney Todd. It was his first show he did with us. He was absolutely incredible. Loved working with him. And then Sean Nakia, who has not done anything with us, but we'll be doing other shows. We'll be advertising here in a little bit. Broadway Babes, tickets on sale now, November 12th and 13th, this Friday and Saturday. A night of Broadway tunes and fun and just a lot of good time to be had. Make sure you get your tickets to that. Again, this weekend, Broadway Babes, November 12th and 13th at the ACT Black Box Studio. Then the next thing we have is a Tuna Christmas. Tickets are on sale. This is actually going to be Sean Nakia and Steve Steele's first time working with Authentic Community Theater. Two incredible actors. The story is just fun. Two actors, 20 characters in one town. It's nothing but laughs and a good time. Get your tickets now. Those tickets are selling fast. We are getting corporate events and requests and things like that for people wanting to bring their companies out to see it. You don't want to miss it. Again, Tuna Christmas at the Black Box Studio. The dates are on the screen, but December 11th and 12th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and the 23rd. Make sure you get your tickets to that now. And then we have Elf the Musical coming back. Last year, 7 sold-out shows, 7 shows in 3 days. This year, you get to see Hope Wolford and Jeremy Trammell reprising their role as Buddy and Jovi, along with a lot of the rest of the cast. Ryan Perry, Michelle Sashosky, Emmeline Nunez, all coming back. Jimmy Zuna coming back as Green, whatever his name is. And again, most of the rest of the cast is returning, as well as a couple new faces. So get your tickets live at the Maryland Theater the 4th and 5th of December. The first week in December, you don't want to miss it. That's a Saturday and a Sunday matinee. So get your tickets, bring the kids out. It's going to be a great time. The Maryland Theater is also doing a little show or a little Christmas event upstairs at the Black in their ballroom area. So you're going to want to catch that as well. Matilda Jr., these kids have been working now for the past few weeks. A fantastic show, a funny show live at the Maryland Theater. Matilda Jr., January 7th and 8th at the Maryland Theater. Tickets are on sale now, and also registration is getting ready to open up, Brittany, or is this open already? It's up and open for the next semester for classes. Is production open as well? Production's open. Did you guys announce the show? They did. Madagascar Junior for the kids next semester. Go to www.actforall.org to make sure that you sign your kids up soon. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're looking forward to that. But Matilda Junior tickets on sale. Go to marylandtheater.com, I think it is now, themarylandtheater.com, or go to actforall.org. You can get your tickets to that as well. And then, of course, we have Cabaret, the 21st and 22nd of January. Lots of fun. If you've never seen the show, it's going to be a great time. You'll get to see Tim as the MC, living his dream role, as well as, it's not my dream role, but I'm in it as well. I haven't even looked at the script yet, so it'll be all right. But lots of fun, lots of things coming up. Make sure you get your tickets again. Go to the Maryland Theater's website or go to www.actforall.org. And before we move on, that's the last one, right, Jay? That's the last one. Thank you, sir. Before we go on, I'm going to say this. Please, 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 if you are getting tickets to any of our shows at the Maryland Theater, please use the Maryland Theater's website. Do not Google the show and go to one of those bullshit websites. Was it ticketfast.com and mastertickets.com and all these scam websites? They're all scams. There's nothing we can do about it. If you are asked to pay more than $25 for any of our tickets as of right now, this second, it's a scam. Don't do it. Contact the box office at the Maryland Theater if you're having issues, but go to actforall.org or go to the Maryland Theater's website to buy tickets. Do not Google and just try to go to Ticketmaster. We had somebody who got scammed out of about $300 on rent. So, and your tickets may or may not work when you get there. Kind of depends on the
How
site
deep of a scam it is.
Yep. So some of them will just take your money. Some of them will just charge you 4 times the amount for the tickets and then go and buy the actual tickets and send you the confirmation for the actual tickets through Ticketmaster, and then they pocket the rest of the money. Wow. Again, there's nothing we can do. We've gotten with the Maryland Theater. We've tried to take down these sites, and as soon as one gets taken down, another one pops up. So we apologize for that, but unfortunately, there's nothing we can do. So make sure you go to those sites and go through the proper channels to get your tickets. So now we're going to get to this topic we've been talking about it, or trying to talk about it for weeks upon weeks.
Almost 2 months now.
And we almost ran out of time because we only have about 15 minutes left. But we're getting to it. So which is better, okay? The revivals or the originals? We've kind of started talking about like the modernization of shows, but then you just have revivals. Which show was better, either the original or the revival? Tim has a list here. Tim, I'm going to give this one to you. You start rocking it because this has been a topic you've been wanting to talk about for a few weeks.
Okay, so when we were doing I didn't give this pretty much any thought until we did Godspell, and I was blocking the show, and we were doing the original published script of Godspell.
The revival sucks.
Well, and so that's what I thought. So I had listened to the Godspell soundtrack, the original soundtrack, so much, and then I kind of like quickly listened to the revival, and I was like, "Oh, this sucks. This is terrible." And I stand by that for a few of the songs. But as we were doing it, I had all of these cast members after the show had been cast be like, "Why can't we do the revival? Like the revival is so good." Da 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 da. And I went back and I listened to it, and I think that there are some musical moments in the revival that I do think are like improved and better.
Well, We Beseech Thee and Turn Back, O Man
Are terrible.
Are awful.
They're god awful.
In the revival, they are the
So
worst
bad.
songs in the show.
But whenever you put into comparison the 56-second Learn Your Lessons Well compared to the 3-minute number, like the 3-minute rock number that it became, you know what I mean? Like that kind of revamp is like actually really, really cool.
Yeah. And I wish there was a way that you could take the good from each and make one, but you're not allowed because that would.
Well, and it's the same with anything. It's the same with like whenever you're doing Grease, like there are so many different versions of the songs from Grease. You know what I mean? Like when
you can't do them
right
technically.
Exactly.
So like what was it? Billy Porter had like that
8-minute
beauty school dropout. Like you
so
can't do that. Like there's no way that you can. And a lot of people don't realize, especially with Grease, is you're not getting the movie songs. You're not getting You're the One That I Want. Yep. You're not getting Hopelessly Devoted. You're not getting those because they're not from the original show.
You're not getting the good stuff of the show.
That's literally Olivia Newton-John's people going, no, she doesn't do enough. So
because you're getting the original 1972
Correct.
Grease. So that was the problem that we ran into with Cabaret. Was that am I allowed to say this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, cool. So the original script that we got for Cabaret was the original.
Didn't have money.
So it didn't have money. It didn't have Don't Tell Mama. No, it didn't have.
It had Don't Tell Mama.
It didn't have Mine Hair. Sorry.
Correct.
It didn't have Mine Hair. It didn't have I Don't Care Much, which is my favorite song on the show. It didn't
have a lot of them.
It didn't have any of like the Cliff actually being bisexual or any like moments in the actual lines of the script. And it didn't have what was the big Maybe This Time.
Yeah.
It literally did not have the most famous number in the show. Like if I asked 100 people whether they were theater people or not to name one song from Cabaret, I can guarantee most of them would at least say that one. So just like, I don't know, there's just such like a vast difference between these revivals and these originals.
There's a big one, and when they do a revival, typically they find something in order to make it better, which is great. I mean, it's always good to make stuff better if you can, right? The other thing that you have to look at is cost is associated, of course, when you're getting the rights, because the rights for the revival, which we ended up paying for anyway, because Megan wouldn't leave me the hell alone. But love you, Megan.
And because you weren't going to pay for a live band.
Yeah, I wasn't going to pay for a live band, but it was thousands more.
Yeah,
if you want to do Grease and you want to perform Hopelessly Devoted, You're the One That I Want, and what was the other one that's in there? That's not Prom. Is it not? What replaced Prom Night? Straight at the Drive-In.
Yep.
None of those are in the actual show. If you want to do it, you're talking about thousands per song per night. Yeah. And Sandy.
Yes.
And Grease. Grease
wow. Yeah,
so like you can do that, but again, per song, they quoted me, it was $1,700 a song per night.
It's ridiculous. For no reason.
Yeah. Because all that money goes to Olivia Newton-John because she owns the copyright for those songs.
You have to really like your lead soloist
to
push that.
Alicia, you were amazing. Wasn't gonna fucking happen. And anybody that does do it, you're stupid. It's not that big of a deal. Nobody likes the show anyway. But point being, there's when the revivals come out, it's always, there's always that little bit of excitement for it, especially for theater people, right? It's like, oh, I've seen Pippin. Yeah, I love Pippin. Ben Platt, or William Catt, Ben Vereen. Good God, Ben Platt. Nothing good. I think I just combined Ben Vereen and William Catt.
Yep.
But Ben Vereen, who is one of the most incredible performers on planet Earth, God rest his soul. If you don't know him, you've seen the video on Facebook with him and Will Smith. He played Will Smith's dad in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, doing that whole scene with Uncle Phil. God, I can't remember his name. Damn, I can't remember Uncle Phil's name. But we did a whole thing about him leaving Will again. One of the most heart-wrenching moments in TV history in the 90s. That was Ben Vereen, William Catt, Cheetah Rivera. I mean, it was a huge cast. And then the revival stuff starts to come out. And they just give you that little peek of like the circus curtain and him walking through. And it's like, okay, this could be fun. This could be different. And then I see people doing, acrobatics and tight ropes and just a whole fucking circus. I'm like,
you didn't like Cirque du Soleil.
I was like, no, this is not Pippin. No, this is not it.
Yeah.
I hated the revival.
Well, yeah, so that's a revival where it's like they just went left field.
And really, the music wasn't that different either.
Yeah.
The music wasn't much different. They just changed all the staging. Pippin, in my opinion, was always meant to be a smaller show that you could make big with the sets and all that stuff, but you could do it in a black box.
Right.
It's literally a guy or a girl telling the story of Pippin.
Cabaret is the same way.
You know what I mean? Like that's all it is. So you can do it in a black box. We did it at the Washington County, Playhouse when it was back in the day when we worked there. That was my first professional show that I ever did at the Playhouse.
Right.
And it was, again, if you've ever been there, it's small.
Yeah.
You can do it black box without an issue. Or again, you can make it huge. But with the revival, you got people that are like, you have literal circus workers.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is when you did it, you didn't have acrobatics and
no, not at all. No. We had amazing choreography. We had great talent, and we had a lot of fun. And again, it's a fun show. We did it at the Maryland Theater. We call it Voldemort because we're not allowed to talk about it anymore because there was like a blizzard and fucking like we only had one rehearsal day, and because of the blizzard, they tried to cancel the second rehearsal day. Like it was a mess. But we did it, and like 350 people came between the two nights. So it was because they couldn't get anywhere. I didn't give anybody a refund because I was like, we're having the show. But yeah, like that was a really bad revival in my opinion. Some people loved it. Some people really enjoyed it. It was way more colorful and just, I thought it took away from what the original story was. The other one too, that really got under my skin with the revivals was Grease when they did "You're the One That I Want." Mm-hmm. The TV show.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that TV show?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was a TV show where they were looking for a Danny and a Sandy. It was called "You're the One That I Want." And amazing idea, by the way.
Did that come out before or after Looking for Al?
It was
the Legally Blonde one.
It was before that because they had Taylor Hicks was playing Teen Angel.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think during that run, my wife went to go see it. But they had this whole reality show. It was like American Idol, and they were looking for the Danny and the Sandy.
Narrow it down.
And then they won, and of course the guy that won, Danny, was awful. Like he he was miserable. Like, oh, play Sandy was fine. But I remember when they announced the winners, then they brought out the rest of the cast that was already cast, all of whom were like 50. They were old as hell. Like it was a mess. But they did this whole TV show leading up to it, and the TV show was terrible. Great idea, in my opinion. I think it was a phenomenal idea. And I've been trying to pitch a TV show for a while that's kind of similar but different.
For what?
I can't tell you because it's going to get stolen. I haven't copywritten it yet. But I'll tell you about it outside.
They had something like that for Glee back when Glee was
yes,
on. And
when they were looking for new cast.
Yeah.
That was the
Irish guy,
Damien McGinty.
Yeah,
who was in I don't know why the fuck he was on that show because he was in Celtic Thunder.
What?
He was in Celtic Thunder for when he was 10.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was huge. He was a huge star. He did Puppy Love.
Right.
And there's I'll show you the video. It's incredible. It's little Damien McGinty. He's probably 10, 12 years old. Sounds like a grown-ass man, and he is phenomenal. But yeah, Damien McGinty was on that show, ended up winning. I think he won that year, or he ended up being on the show anyway.
And so he got the part.
Yeah. But yeah, they did that. I think they had like 3 or 4 seasons of that trying to save Glee because it started dying as people started graduating. They realized that nobody gives a shit about the new characters you're bringing in at all. We just want to keep on going. You're talking about doing a revival of Glee?
No.
I think it would
be
be
following Rachel Berry.
No, nobody cares about Rachel
I think
Berry.
it would do really well for a month, and then it would tank.
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, Ryan Murphy is just so damn talented coming up with shows. He doesn't need to bring that back.
I know he needs to focus on one thing because a lot of his projects right now are like tanking.
Well, a lot of them he's just the EP on. He's just the executive producer. He's just his name's on it, and which is making him look like shit. But he has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. But the big one, before we kind of leave this topic, the big one that have you ever heard the story of Carrie the musical?
I haven't heard a lot about it. I heard that it when it was first out, it was
bad.
It was really, really, really bad. Like it only lasted like 16 performances on Broadway or so. Like it was one of the worst performing.
A little more than that, but it was bad. Yeah. So it
was something 6. Maybe it was 46 or something like that.
There's a documentary on YouTube that kind of goes over like exactly what happened the entire time. So I'm not going to get like too far into it, but definitely like go watch it because it's very interesting. But like. The director just like was an idiot. You know what I mean? So they had a really good lyricist and a really good guy who was writing the music, and they put this story together. And the director, like, when the director asked, "Okay, what do you guys want for costumes?" They said, "Think Grease, like the musical Grease." And then in the final production, he costumed the kids wearing essentially togas.
I have to see this
documentary. It is insane. So all of this stuff like went terrible. They really wanted, I think, Betty Buckley, who ended up playing Mrs. White. But originally they had somebody else who was playing the role. I forget what her name was, but I believe she got injured and quit as the show was going up. So like anything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And the show was a disaster. It was boring. It was weird. It made no sense. And so around 2012, a non-Broadway, so an off-Broadway theater, took the show, cut half the songs out, wrote new songs for it, and you can see it at the Maryland Theater this October.
Nice.
And it's really good.
Yeah, like
it's really good.
That was the longest advertisement I think I've ever heard.
And it's going to be fantastic, yeah. But no, it was just one of those really weird scenarios where, because I mean, Heathers is a non-Broadway show. You know what I mean? It wasn't written to be on Broadway. I don't think it's ever been on Broadway. But
it should have went to Broadway, but they had their own issues to deal with.
Exactly. But I mean, it's huge. And Carrie is another one of those musicals where it's like, I don't think it will ever survive on Broadway. I don't think
it's a niche audience.
It probably shouldn't ever.
It's a very niche audience. And again, if you're not into horror, you're not going to go see it. You know, if somebody tells you it's a horror musical or a horror show, you're like, oh, well, I'm not going because I don't like horror, right?
Right.
So,
it's just tough because Carrie is one of the. I feel like Carrie's one of the most like successful books of any genre, like all time.
Well, it's got name recognition.
Yeah, it definitely does. And again, we'll see what happens again October 2022 at the Maryland Theater. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a good time with it. Yeah. We have 5 minutes left. We have 5 minutes. Do we go into it?
Yep, let's do it.
So
all right.
Lightning round here.
All right. How do we feel about TV live musicals? Do we prefer them being shot like they get shot now on a back lot at Warner Brothers or Universal or wherever? They get shot on a back lot. Or, first of all, what do we think? I'll go first. I have not liked a single one as a production. I like Sound of Music a little bit. I think it had its flaws. I think Carrie Underwood did a way better job than people give her credit for because they want the queen, right? They're like, oh no, Julie Andrews. No, we cannot. That's it. She just played it different, you know. But I think she did well, and but I haven't liked one since. Rent wasn't live because what's his fuck broke his ankle.
Neither was Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid wasn't live.
I didn't even bother with that.
Peter Pan was a mess.
I didn't see Peter Pan.
It was a mess.
Jesus Christ Superstar. I was pissed. I felt so bad for Brandon Victor.
Brandon Victor.
Yep, I felt so bad for him. He is singing his damn heart out. The opening number, Heaven on Their Minds, which you can see this weekend, 12th and 13th at the Black Box Studio, performed by me. I've been working my ass off on that song. So it'll be great. Buy your tickets online. Go to actforall.org. Anyway, but he's singing his ass off, and John Legend comes parading out, and everybody just loses their fucking mind. And I'm like, who cares about this Joe Schmo at this point? Like, he's nobody. Like, he's John Legend, yes. But for God's sakes, you got this guy who is killing this song, and you can't even hear him because everybody's screaming, trying to touch John Legend. Absolute joke. I thought it was a travesty. Hairspray Live, I thought Ariana Grande was a hot-ass mess, and the fact that she is about to play Glinda in the Wicked movie kind of makes me sick to my stomach.
I do not like Ariana Grande. I'm sorry to my niece who idolizes her. If you're watching out there, congratulations on college. I do not like
She's
Ariana
talented
Grande.
in her discipline.
Is she, though?
She has talent in her discipline for people who like what she does.
There you go.
And again, it's there. She's worth millions of dollars, and she does very well for herself. But this is not her discipline. She was garbage in Hairspray.
There's a difference, and I agree with you. There's a difference between like being a fantastic vocalist and a musical theater fanatic and being a musical theater performer. Just because you were on Broadway when you were in middle school and because you are a platinum selling artist does not mean
it's a ticket grab.
And because you love musical theater, like all of those things are great in concept, but they don't equal musical theater performer the way that Cynthia Erivo. I don't know how to say her last name, but I love her dearly.
She's going to be great. She is going to be great as Alpha, but she's going to be wonderful.
The greatest choice that they could.
Oh yeah, I think it was absolutely phenomenal. I thought it was a great choice. Ariana Grande again.
And they're
for
so
people
different in age. Ariana
so
Grande is
weird.
younger than Cynthia, you know?
By a lot. No offense to Cynthia. I mean, no offense.
Well, she's 35. I think Ariana is 26, 27.
Is she really?
Is Ariana Grande that old? I thought she was like. I don't know. I still see the kid from Barney.
They're gonna paint Cynthia green.
No, Wizards of whatever the fuck.
They're gonna paint Cynthia green, and it's not gonna matter. But like, I just feel like I would have preferred if they would have went for maybe an older woman who was more close in age to Cynthia.
And everybody who said to bring Idina Menzel back, stop it. God. Stop it. Get offline. Stop saying that she has no. I love Idina. She's 50. Enough. Okay. Like we're not going to just milk her for everything she's worth. Like let's
let her live.
Like she's got babies at home and she got shit to do. Like enough. Like she doesn't need to be in everything just because she did it. But I have been enjoying watching her and what's her name online recently. The original.
Chenoweth?
Yes, Chenoweth. Christian Chenoweth, thank you. I knew it was Chris. I couldn't remember her last name for a second. But Christian Chenoweth's been doing a bunch of videos on like Instagram and Facebook where she's like going to these random Broadway shows and saying, I'm here to audition, and just does like this little whatever. She's so goofy and fun. She's so much fun. But Tim, the other part that you asked about this here on the show map is you had asked about, doing it as a live, on the back lot or doing a professionally shot on Broadway or on stage like they did with Hamilton on Disney Plus, where that was from the Broadway stage.
Yeah, or like in the early 2000s, you could not watch a single VHS tape without getting a commercial for the pro shot of Cats. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I just feel like if you're gonna put all of this money into it, you might as well just, you know what I mean? Like it would be like the cast of Hadestown winning.
Producers, it's cheaper to shoot it on Broadway than to take a whole new production.
Right.
And it's going to be better. Mm-hmm. It's going to be better.
Exactly. And it's crazy to me that it's like if you were to take Hadestown, which just won over 10 Tonys at the Tony Awards that they were up for, and being like, okay, it's still on Broadway with almost the entire original cast. Are we going to record a pro shot of their performance and pay them a lot of money to air it?
You wouldn't even have to pay them. That's the thing. You would give them a back end, but you wouldn't have to pay them because they're performing anyway. Mm-hmm. It's actually in their contract for Broadway that they can use their video and their photo however they see fit to produce the show. So if producers in Hollywood had any fucking brain in their head, they would stop doing this nonsense and spending millions upon millions upon millions of dollars getting people like Ariana Grande and fucking Vanessa. Like fucking stop it. Like, just go to the Broadway producer and say, I'm going to give you $3 million. Let me video this. I'm going to give your actors a back end of, let's say, 6%.
And they would make bank.
And you would kill it. But they're so fucking dumb, and they're stuck in, we need John Legend. We need fucking Vanessa Hudgens. We need this douche. We need Ariana Grande. Stop it. Just go film the Broadway show.
Literally.
Do it professionally. Make it super nice on the Broadway stage, and then put it out. Just like they did with Disney Plus with Hamilton. That made Disney Plus fucking millions of dollars. Just, how many people got Disney Plus just for Hamilton?
Just for it. Yeah. My thing is, if you got to look at what is the impetus? Why are they doing this? And they say that they're doing this to bring theater to the masses who wouldn't necessarily always be exposed to it. Okay, if that's the case, then bring theater to the masses. Go to the Broadway show and do a wide shot of the stage. Don't do all the crazy panning and angles that they tried to do in JC when they did it with John Legend and everything, because that made me dizzy, and that's not what live theater is. Have the shot of the stage. Sure, you can zoom in every now and then.
Oh, of course, and you can mark off spots in the audience to just say, this day we're not selling these, so you can get your other angles too.
Right.
And you can shoot it from the balcony, you can shoot it here, you can shoot it here, you can shoot straight on, and just tape off those pieces, and then you shoot it just like you would any other live event or any talk show. And then you take care of everything in post. You get all the angles, and then you just mix it all together. It looks great. It's real simple. Or you just or you do what TV shows do, like any TV talk show, and you just do the show for free and just tell people, you ain't gonna be able to see shit sometimes because there's gonna be cameras on stage.
Yeah.
They're gonna be moving around, so you're not gonna be able to see everything, but you can still be a part of it, and it's not gonna cost you anything. See, and that's the thing. And the reason why I roll my eyes whenever you say they want to bring theater to the masses, bullshit. They want to make money. That's what they want to do. And they realize that not everybody can take a trip to New York City. Not especially through COVID.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford to go and spend $600 on a hotel room for a couple nights and then $400 on Broadway tickets per person, plus having food and dinner and transportation and everything else. People can't do it. This is the easiest way to do it. Go film the damn Broadway show, pay the producers what you have to pay them, a couple $1 million that you would have paid for Ariana Grande to be in the show. Mm-hmm. Pay them a couple $1 million and say, hey, don't sell these 150 tickets in these areas so we can shoot it. We'll shoot it. I'm going to give you 6%. I'm going to give your actors 3% back end on what we make on whether it's DVD sales, distribution, Netflix, Hulu, Disney, whatever. I'm going to give you that back end. And they just keep making money for the rest of their lives.
Because, I mean, that 2005 Rent recording with Renee Elise Goldsberry and Telly Lung, right?
Yeah, Telly was in it.
It literally is still on YouTube making bank. It's Maydean's favorite recording of Rent.
And again, it's done well. You can do it well, still have the show, still have it live, and produce a great product that people are going to love. And it saves you money, producers.
Right.
It's crazy. Anyway, we're done. We're 5 minutes over. Sorry, Jay. Guys, thank you all so much. The Act Black Box Podcast. Oh, wow. What the hell was that? The Act Black Box Podcast here every Sunday. We appreciate you guys understanding the last few weeks. Thank you so much. Again, Broadway Babes at the Black Box Theater, Black Box Studio this Friday and Saturday. Get your tickets now. Also, get your tickets to all the other shows we talked about. Cabaret, Elf, Matilda Jr. Sign up your kids at actforall.org for summer production, or spring production and spring classes. We're super excited. Thank you guys so much. Thank you all for your support over the last few weeks. We love you. Peace out, everybody. Thank you all very much.